Welcome to Giant Redwood, where craftsmanship and nature meet. Join us as we dive into the world of woodworking, from towering trees to expert techniques and beautiful creations. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to Giant Redwood. I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive into today's project, I'd love to know, what kind of woodworking projects are you working on? Are you crafting furniture, working on a new DIY project, or simply exploring the craft? Drop a comment below and let me know. Also, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future projects. We've got a lot of exciting content coming your way, from wood turning to mastering machinery, and I can't wait to share it with you. Let's dive in. Now, let's dive into one of the most versatile tools in woodworking, the table saw. Whether you're making rip cuts, cross cuts, or even angled cuts, the table saw is a game changer when it comes to precision and efficiency. The key to using the table saw effectively is understanding how to set it up properly. First, adjust the blade height to match the thickness of the wood you're cutting. You want the blade just slightly above the wood to ensure clean cuts without overexposing the blade. Always make sure the fence is properly aligned with the blade, ensuring your cuts are straight. The fence acts as your guide, helping you achieve consistent results every time. If you're cutting larger panels or boards, be sure to use a push stick to keep your hands at a safe distance from the blade. Now, let's talk about the handheld planer, an essential tool for any woodworker who wants to smooth, flatten, and level their wood surfaces with ease. Unlike other sanding methods, the planer allows you to remove material quickly and accurately, making it ideal for prepping rough lumber or achieving an even thickness. The handheld planer works by using a rotating cutter head to shave off thin layers of wood as you move the tool along the surface. When using it, start by setting the desired depth of cut. For rough lumber, you may want to start with a deeper cut to remove more material. For fine finishing, use a shallow cut to achieve a smoother surface. Always make sure the wood is secured properly before using the planer. If you're working with longer boards, it's a good idea to clamp them down or use a stable surface to avoid any movement while you work. Begin at one end of the wood and gently move the planer along the grain, applying even pressure. Don't push too hard. Let the tool do the work to avoid gouging or leaving deep marks. One of the great things about the handheld planer is its portability. It's perfect for getting into tight spots, like edges or corners, where larger planers can't reach. Whether you're smoothing rough edges or evening out an entire board, the handheld planer gives you the control and precision you need. Now, keep in mind that a sharp blade is key to achieving the best results. Regularly check the blades for wear and replace them as necessary. Dull blades will not only make your work harder, but can also cause the planer to leave uneven cuts. And don't forget to clean the dust port regularly to ensure proper dust extraction during use. For safety, always wear goggles and a dust mask, as the planer can generate a lot of dust. Keep your hands clear of the cutting area and use both hands to guide the tool for stability. Make sure to keep the cord out of the way and always switch off the planer when making adjustments. The handheld planer is a fantastic tool for woodworkers of all skill levels, giving you the ability to level wood quickly, fix imperfections, and get your projects ready for that perfect finish. Now, let's take a look at the disc sander, a tool that's perfect for smoothing rough surfaces and achieving that perfect finish. The disc sander uses a round sanding disc that spins at high speed, allowing you to quickly remove material and level the surface. When using the disc sander, always ensure the wood is securely positioned on a stable surface. Start by applying light, even pressure as you guide the wood across the spinning disc. Avoid pressing too hard, as that can cause uneven sanding or damage to the surface. The beauty of the disc sander is its ability to handle both large, flat surfaces and edges with ease. Just make sure to keep the sanding motion smooth and consistent. Always wear a dust mask, as sanding creates fine dust particles that can be harmful to your health. Now, let's talk about drilling holes for screws, a crucial step in many woodworking projects. Using the right drill and bit is key to getting clean, precise holes that will hold screws securely. Start by selecting the appropriate drill bit size for the screw you're using. The drill bit should match the core diameter of the screw to ensure a tight fit without splitting the wood. Make sure to drill at a straight angle, especially when working with larger pieces, to avoid misalignment. When drilling, apply steady, even pressure. Don't force the drill, let the tool do the work. If you're drilling into hardwood, take your time and drill slowly to avoid burning the wood or dulling the bit. For added precision, use a pilot hole or a drill guide to keep everything aligned. Now, let's move on to a more specialized task, using the disc sander to enhance the grain of large wood surfaces. This technique is often used to bring out the natural beauty of the wood and give it a smoother, more polished finish. The disc sander, with its high-speed rotating sanding disc, is excellent for large, flat surfaces. It allows you to quickly remove any rough spots or imperfections on the wood, revealing the fine grain underneath. When working with larger pieces, it's essential to maintain control and move the sander in a smooth, consistent motion to avoid uneven sanding or gouging. Start by selecting the right grit of sandpaper for the job. For a large wood surface, you'll likely begin with a coarser grit, like 80 or 100, to remove any major imperfections. As you move through the sanding process, gradually switch to finer grits, such as 120, 150, or even 220, to refine the surface and bring out the details of the grain. This gradual progression ensures that the wood's surface becomes progressively smoother and more polished, without oversanding any areas. One key tip when using a disc sander on large pieces is to work in sections. Don't try to sand the entire surface all at once. Instead, divide the area into manageable sections and sand each one individually. This will give you better control and help you avoid sanding too much in one spot, which can lead to uneven surfaces. As you move through each section, be sure to keep the sander moving steadily along the grain of the wood. This helps to preserve the natural patterns of the wood's texture. Avoid sanding against the grain, as this can leave scratches that are difficult to remove. Always follow the grain direction and use light, even pressure to avoid damaging the wood or oversanding certain areas. Once you've gone over the entire surface with your coarser grit, switch to a finer grit to further smooth out the wood. At this point, the wood will begin to reveal its natural color and texture. You'll notice that the grain starts to pop more, and the surface will become much smoother to the touch. If you're working with exotic hardwoods or thick, dense woods like oak, the disc sander is especially useful. The power of the machine can handle the hardness of these woods, removing imperfections quickly and allowing the grain to shine through. Be patient, as hardwoods may require a little extra time and care to get that perfect finish. Additionally, be mindful of the dust generated when sanding, especially with larger projects. Wood dust can be harmful if inhaled, so always wear a dust mask or respirator, and use a dust collection system if you have one. Keeping the workspace clean and clear of debris will also improve the quality of your sanding and give you a better view of the wood's progress as you work. After you finish sanding and achieving the smoothness and grain exposure you want, it's time to give the wood a final cleaning. Wipe down the surface with a clean cloth to remove any dust or residue left behind by the sanding process. This is important because any leftover dust can affect the adhesion of any stains, varnishes, or finishes you plan to apply next. By the end of this process, you should have a beautifully smooth, grain-enhanced wood surface ready for the finishing touches. Whether you're applying stain, varnish, or just leaving it natural, sanding with a disc sander is a powerful way to elevate the look of large wooden surfaces and bring out their best qualities. Remember, taking your time with each sanding step, using the right grit progression, and following the wood grain will always result in a professional, polished finish that highlights the natural beauty of your wood. Now that our wood surface is smooth and the grain is beautifully revealed, it's time to protect it with a primer coat, the wood sealer or base coat. Applying a good primer not only protects the wood, but also creates the perfect foundation for any finish, whether it's stain, varnish, or paint. Start by choosing a high-quality wood primer that's suitable for the type of wood you're working with. For softwoods like pine, a standard wood primer works well, but for hardwoods like oak or mahogany, a more penetrating primer will help seal the pores and prevent uneven absorption of the finish. Before applying, make sure the wood surface is completely clean and free of dust. Even tiny particles left from sanding can affect adhesion. Use a clean, dry cloth to wipe the surface or lightly brush it off. When applying the primer, use a high-quality brush or a foam applicator to ensure an even coat. Begin with long, smooth strokes along the grain of the wood. This helps the primer penetrate the wood fibers evenly and prevents streaks or brush marks. Avoid applying too much in one spot, as this can cause drips or pooling. Allow the primer to fully absorb into the wood. Most primers will dry to the touch within 30 minutes to an hour, but for best results, wait until it's completely dry before any sanding or finishing. Some woodworkers like to lightly sand the primer coat with fine grit sandpaper to achieve an ultra-smooth base. This step ensures that the top coat will adhere perfectly and look flawless. The primer not only seals the wood, but also helps highlight the grain and natural patterns, giving your final finish a more vibrant, uniform appearance. It also protects the wood from moisture, which is crucial for durability, especially in environments prone to humidity or temperature changes. Once the primer is applied and dried, your wood is ready for the next step, whether that's staining, applying varnish, or any other finishing technique. A proper primer ensures your project will not only look professional, but also last for years without warping, discoloration, or uneven absorption. Now, let's dive into the art of wood grain painting, a technique that can bring stunning, lifelike details to your woodworking projects. Whether you're mimicking natural wood grains for a more rustic look or adding intricate patterns for a decorative touch, this technique requires a steady hand and a bit of practice. To start, you'll need to choose the right base color for your project. For a more realistic wood grain effect, opt for a light or neutral base, like beige, light brown, or even off-white. This will mimic the natural look of unfinished wood and provide a great backdrop for the grain pattern to pop. Apply this base coat evenly across the surface, allowing it to dry completely before proceeding. Next, you'll need a wood grain tool or a fine paintbrush to create the grain pattern. There are specialized wood grain combs available, which can create a variety of realistic patterns, but you can also use a fine brush for more delicate details. Dip your tool or brush into a darker wood tone paint, like walnut or mahogany, and begin to paint your grain pattern. Use long, sweeping strokes to mimic the natural flow of wood grain. Always work with the grain direction for the most authentic effect. For added depth, consider layering different shades of paint. Apply a second layer of a slightly darker or lighter color, and blend the two tones together to give the wood an aged, weathered appearance. You can even use a glaze to further enhance the depth of the grain, making it look more three-dimensional. The key to realistic wood grain art is patience and precision. Take your time, allowing each layer to dry before adding the next, and always step back to assess your work. Keep in mind that this technique works beautifully for both small projects, like drawer fronts, and larger surfaces, like tabletops or panels.